What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last Tuesday, I saw Warcraft, also known as Warcraft The Beginning, and it is, of course, a film that is based off of the widely popular PC gaming series Warcraft, which spawned 2 sequels, I believe, and also, of course, the hugely popular, massive multiplayer online role-playing game World of Warcraft, which is played by millions and millions and millions of fans worldwide. So you can tell that for the movie studios, it was a no-brainer to make this into a live-action film. Now, the big question is, will Warcraft break the mold of the video game movie? And what is that mold? Well, video game movies just tend to suck. They're just not very, very good. In fact, the best video game movie that I know of, and still holds the title, is Mortal Kombat, and they came out in the late 90s. Before that and after that, all the video game movies that I've seen are just pretty bad. So, is Warcraft as bad as the critics say it is? After all, it does have 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, after watching it, I'll tell you that it's not as bad as the critics say it is, but it's still pretty bad. In fact, it has the very typical makings of a video game movie, and that is poor pacing, bad direction, uncharismatic, unforgettable, or rather forgettable characters, plot holes galore, and just dull moments. Just a lot of dull moments, boring moments. Action is very dull and uninspiring, and there's just really a not whole lot of things to really keep you that engaged. Especially if you don't know anything about this series. Now, I'll tell you something. I'm a huge fan of Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. I do not play World of Warcraft. It looks like a lot of fun. My brother plays it, and I would love to play it, but I know that I will get sucked in. But World of Warcraft is based off of an awesome game, and that is Warcraft, the very, very original game which spawned the even better sequel. Those are the 2 games that I am actually a fan of. And Warcraft, the film, is actually based off of, or rather takes a lot out of the first 2 games as opposed to World of Warcraft. So if you played the games, World of Warcraft and, if you played Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 and you're a huge fan of it, then you will notice a lot of the references in the film, and it actually makes the film better because of the fact that they put a lot of those homages to the first 2 games. In fact, it's quite true to the first 2 games, and those are some of the things that make it good, especially if you are, an avid video gamer, or rather a fan of the video game franchise. So those are some of the things that make this film bearable. Tolerable, rather. But as a film, it just doesn't work. I noticed that a lot of movies these days that are based off of some sort of like fanboyish property, like a comic book or a video game or something like that, they add a lot of elements to please the fans, like fan service, if you will. And Warcraft does a lot of that. And if you are not someone who knows anything about that, then you will be completely lost, and you'll find this movie quite boring. It doesn't reinvent the fantasy genre. It is nowhere near as good of Lord of the Rings. In fact, some people compare it to Lord of the Rings, and it's nowhere near that. There's no real depth in a lot of this in Warcraft. The only thing that makes this film really awesome, or rather tolerable, is the amazing, and I gotta say amazing, visual effects. The orcs look incredible. In fact, this is some of the best visual effects work that I've seen. There is a lot of these moments where these orcs act with the humans, like they perform with the humans, and it looks completely flawless, like photorealistic. The only times where it doesn't look as good is when when the orcs are acting around completely CG environments with other CG characters. That's when you can tell that, okay, this scene is completely entirely CG. But when you see the orcs interacting with the humans in real life environments like the forests, it looks quite real, and actually it's quite hypnotic. When I was watching it in the big screen in 3D, I was noticing all the details on the orcs, like the skin tones and all the little imperfections on their bodies, and it's just so real, and that's something that really blew me away. So I thought that they did an excellent job with that, and that is what made me feel quite engaged with the movie. As for the rest of the film, man, it's kind of dull, to be completely honest, and even the action is really not that exciting when it is humans and orcs, and let me explain why, okay? This movie is really about a big war between the humans and the orcs. There is some orc on orc fighting, but it really is about the orcs and the humans. And when the orcs and the humans fight together, it is quite dull. The reason why is because orcs, they move a certain way. They're like, they're big hulking monsters, so it feels like the humans have to dumb down their moves. They have to dumb down their attacks to equal the orcs. Just for the sake of putting on a balanced battle. You know what I'm saying? But when the orcs fight each other, like orc on orc combat, it looks great. And in fact, it looks really, really cool. I would love to see a lot more of that, but they didn't give us enough of that. And what we ended up with was more of these orc on human battles, which, like I said, is a very, very dull and slow moving type of action sequence, which is really, really unfortunate. And the main reason why I think that they did that was because they really couldn't find a middle ground. They couldn't find a balance to, for the orcs and the humans to meet each other in the middle. Humans can move very quickly, very agile, right? Swing their swords all over the place. But the orcs, like when they swing their hammers, it's a very, very slow motion, okay? And it just doesn't quite work. In fact, it makes the orcs look very weak. And it shouldn't be like that, because the humans, when they fight the orcs, it should be like a 3 to 4 humans on one orc, but a human can take out an orc with no problem just by himself, just because it looks like the orcs are just really that crappy as fighters, and they shouldn't be. But when you see orcs and orcs fight each other, it's a lot more entertaining, okay? Anyways, so that's really unfortunate. It really wasn't that great of a film, but the CG made the film tolerable and all the orc moments in the movie. So that's what I liked about the movie. But I think that if you are a fan of Warcraft and if you're curious about this film, you should definitely check it out. Don't let me persuade you from watching the film. I'm just providing you with my opinion about it. But, you go ahead and watch the film and be the judge of that yourself. Some people really, really enjoyed it. I wanted to give it a chance. I want to see what it's all about. But at the end of the day, I thought that what was lacking was just the direction. It was a really, really poor direction. And it isn't as good as it could have been. And the crazy part is that a lot of this film really is just set up for the sequel, which I think really hurts the film, because it doesn't really create for a complete story, which in the end ends up being filled with plot holes. So that's too bad. And last thing I want to mention is that there's an orc. The main orc, his name is Duratan, and he's played by Toby Kebbell, I believe he played Doctor Doom in Fantastic Four. And I like to call him Passive Orc, because as an orc, he never really looks like menacing and mean and really, really like evil. He just looks passive all the time. You can tell he's a good orc, and we get it. I think they do that too much, to the point where I just feel like, okay, we get it. He's a good orc. You don't have to spell it out for us. And I just think something like that really hurt the movie, because he just doesn't it just doesn't match the character or his appearance. It just looks like this really passive, friendly, a weak orc, and he shouldn't be that way. He's supposed to be the chieftain of his clan, and he just looks really, really weak. I think, like I said before, it's a poor direction. They got it all wrong, and they should have made him a lot more of a formidable warrior, and they didn't do that in the end, and it just felt less believable. So that's all I gotta say in this film. I don't think it's that bad. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 10, which is a low score. That's a below average score, but I think it's worth a look if you are a fan of of Warcraft and you're really curious, I think it's worth watching in 3D if you are going to check it out. But if you are going to check it out, watch it on the big screen because it is a grand scale film and the 3D looks really cool. And also, if you see the orcs in a big screen, you can see all the detail that they put into, like all the work that they put into the detail of creating these orcs and bringing them into life, okay? Bringing them to life. So there you have it. That's all I gotta say. 4.5 out of 10. And if you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Steady, Krang, and it was just a lot of fun. This is a very fun movie. It's a summer popcorn flick. If you are watching